Hi, welcome to Clutter Bravado.
Yes, and it's the energy. It's not just about the stuff.
So we should probably just get into it, right?
Let's go.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Yeah?
It's a beautiful Monday morning, fall.
It
A
is.
little crisp outside.
It is. I am wearing a sweater. Yes.
I know.
I wear sweaters on here all the time, though, so I don't know if that's any different. But
Last night, Ron Woodson came.
yeah.
So we'll have him on the podcast hopefully very soon. And
You guys had a nice dinner here, right?
Yeah, we had a fire. I saw a fire. It was chilly. It's chilly at night, so it's
Oh.
nice. It's a very nice. I like that this season.
Yeah. Yeah, especially I feel like in this area of town, because it feels more like a city in Koreatown, that I think, I don't know, the vibe that I've had over here sometimes, because it's about to be near the Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday, and they have lights that they put around things here. So it's really cute.
Yeah,
Getting festive for the season.
I know we're not quite used to it completely here, but
Yeah.
it's fun. And then, so how was your week last week?
Oh, last week? So we were in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Going to San Francisco last week with you was cool, actually. I had a really interesting time, especially because I got your tour of San Francisco. So as I'm sure everybody is aware, you spent a lot of time in San Francisco. You lived there for a very long time. If I wasn't going to say you were from France, I would say you were from
San Francisco.
Yeah.
That's why I still root for the 49ers.
Oh, yeah?
That's where I was. It's funny. It's because I moved there. I was 24.
That's probably one of the funniest things about you, actually, is that you're a football guy.
That it was
Like, you
football.
just don't.
I have one
nothing-
thing.
Okay.
I had to get one
That's
thing.
fair. That's fair. But also, it's a little goofy.
Especially with my understanding of the sport, it's really goofy, but it's fun.
Wait, do you not know all the rules?
No, I do know the rules, but sometimes I look at the wrong side of, like, the ball is on the other side of the field, and I'm like, oh, that was a fake.
Oh, wait.
I went to one game, and
Okay.
I don't think I think that I looked at the wrong side of the field wherever the ball was not while they were running.
But they're all facing. Oh, I guess they do face against each other.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was fun. Look, I'm enjoying it.
Hey, that's
It's
all
very
that matters,
fun.
as long as you're having a good time. No,
And,
I'm kind of the same way with football. I don't have a football team. I grew up in Wisconsin, but like right on the border of Illinois. My dad was a Bears fan, or is a Bears fan. My mom is a Bills fan. My little sister, Packer fan. I don't have a.
You just Switzerland.
I'm Switzerland. Yeah. I just want everyone to have a good time.
Everyone needs to win. I'm the same
Yeah.
way. Everyone should win.
But, well, I mean, I'm kind of one of those annoying people at a sports game where when somebody does something well, regardless of whose team it is, like if you're playing baseball and somebody hits a grand slam, I'm excited about that. I'm like, yeah, good job. I don't care whose team they're on. They did a good job. Like, why am I going to boo someone for doing something that is like pretty impressive? That feels wrong, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
And it is a game. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It is a game, so I take it as such.
It's not war. We're fine.
It's fun. It's just fun,
Yeah,
entertaining.
exactly. So you're a 49ers fan, which is funny.
So
But let's get back to San Francisco. So your tour of San Francisco, the tour that you took me on, showed me where, like in the Mission, where you used to live, and where your shop was, where John De La Cruz's shop is now, essentially in the same. It's like right next door.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. But we spent a lot of time at Desousa Hughes, and I learned so much talking to the guests that we had up there. Now, we're not going to be able to air those until December, so you have to hold on for like a couple of weeks. But when we were there, we had such I had such an incredible time getting to know all of the designers and getting time to just be in the showroom, to ask questions, to sit. I think I sat on every piece of furniture. I think I touched everything in that showroom. And it's huge too.
Yeah.
I didn't even go to the fabric side, so no, I didn't.
Right.
But there were so many things there, and I got so inspired. There were things that some of our guests chatted about that I hadn't considered before, that I like now fully have a firm understanding of. And just seeing myself evolve. It's something that I'm really excited about. And I'm really excited to kind of like get my hands dirty, to be able to start doing the work. Because right now I'm like, ooh, okay, I have a lot of tools in my toolbox right now. And like you and I have gone to several like showrooms, and I've had the opportunity to learn through you from going to your workshop as well. There's so much out there. And now I'm hungry. Like before I was like really interested in it. I'm like, ooh, this is really fascinating. But now that I'm starting to understand things a little bit more, I feel like the accelerator is just all the way. Like I'm pedal to the metal. Like I am hungry. Like let's go. This is awesome.
You also had the chance to have dinner with my friend Dan Stein and Diane, who,
Yes.
he's like, I don't know, one of the best antiques dealers. So we had some good conversation regarding antiques.
Yes, that was really interesting, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that he specializes in English antiques from what century was it?
18 and 19.
18 and 19, yeah.
I mean, it's English furniture, objects.
Mm-hmm.
He's really one of the best dealer I know, I think.
Yeah.
And most expert.
Yeah. And you know him from your time in the antiques business. Yeah.
It's been a journey.
So you and I spent 12 hours in a car together total. Mm-hmm. That's not including driving around San Francisco, which we did a lot of. But I picked your brain to the point that I'm pretty sure your brain looks like Swiss cheese now.
It was already, it's just it's whatever I've left.
No, I asked you so many questions. I kind of felt like a toddler. It's like, what's that? What's this? How does this work? But it was great because you gave me a lot of really solid information, especially about, because I didn't really understand how the antiques business really works. And you really broke that down for me in a way that felt that I now feel like I understand it in a much better way. But one of the things that we talked about, and we're going to go into this more with another guest that we have coming up in the future, because a couple of our guests had brought up scale. Mm-hmm. And I had heard people talk about it, but I asked you specifically, like, can you explain the differences and like the importance of scale in design? And the way that you broke it down was that when you are in a space, there are certain things that need to feel balanced. And when you have something that is too low to the ground or feels a little bit small in a space, then it's really noticeable. And it really affects the feel of being in the room, and also the flow of the energy of the room as well. And this is something that you and I talked about then for like an hour.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's something that I then went home and immediately applied to my apartment.
Good.
And, raising my curtains to like, closer to the ceiling, making everything a little bit like broader and wider. I, changed some of the art on my walls and reorganized it in a way that it sort of fits with the scale of the room. And I cannot tell you how much more I am obsessed with where I live now. And I didn't get anything new.
Right.
It was moving things to different spaces. It was recognizing the actual flow of how a room works. I mean, obviously there are some things that I'm going to need to buy now.
Yeah. I mean, it's editing and it's, it doesn't need to be, but I think that scale for us, be it design or furniture design, I do believe it's probably, to me the most important part.
Yeah, one of the most important things. Absolutely.
Because I think that, colors, or you can change, like you can reupholster, you can add pillows, you can, there's a lot to do. Placement but even placement is related to scale. So and scale you can't change. Once you've purchased a sofa that's too low or too tall or too short, or an armchair that's too small, you can change it. It's just cost.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's very important. And it was interesting because two of our guests were, really focused on it. Which was
great. It was really fascinating.
It was really fun.
Yeah. And also the community that exists here in Los Angeles that I've been so graciously welcomed into. I also felt that same camaraderie and that same familiarity in San Francisco. And, like when there were three people that we had, the three of the guests that we had that I remember specifically asking you about your daughter, asking you about like your family, how's your dad, like how, like they know you and they know you really well. And that personal relationship is so valuable in this industry. And I really love that. And I think it's not just this industry too, but especially among other designers or even other furniture designers. Like people are really close knit and really get to know each other. And I love that you also keep yourself really open to that. I think that that's a huge advantage.
I love it. I mean, that's, but it's an industry that, but you're right too, that every industry I think has a little bit of that, even in the restaurant industry where everybody knows each other and shares and
it's gossipy in there though.
It's a little bit more gossipy. Yeah. But look, the design industry can be gossipy, but at the end of the day, it's a bunch of creative people that I do believe they judge for sure, but they also love each other. There's a lot of respect and a lot of love, and we all need help, and that's what we talked about. Also the personal relationship allows us to be more creative. And you said it, spending the whole day with Jeff at the showroom and him giving you the tour and talking about the designers, and it opens up your brain to possibilities, to be like, okay, I can customize that, I can change these, this is so and so, this is so and so, I can mix those. And that you get by talking to people that know different things.
Sure,
and that's the exchange. That's the beauty of the exchange.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also I really appreciated going through a lot of it with you as well, because there were certain details that I picked up on that you're like, yes, notice that. Like, I love that you noticed that, and being able to see that, like, the way that I'm experiencing these pieces is in line with where I want to be, where I'm not just looking at something being like, oh, it's brown. Right. But instead there's a desk that I love and that I walked through it. I'm like, oh, I love the way that this edge feels. And just like running my hand around it, you're like, oh yeah, that is the kind of detail that you want to be paying attention to. And then also if like there was, any little like corner that was on it, or seeing how something wears over time. I again, like, my mind is blown open and I am so excited.
And what was exciting too is that we talked to three people that have, four with Jeffrey, that have four different approaches to the design. One of them that I can't wait to have but he's very much of an artist and talks about it as an artist. And I think that probably is one like you could relate a lot, because you do, you have a lot of that in you, being a musician and a visual artist. And that was cool to listen to her talk, and I hope that that was empowering for you, because you talk about design a lot through that language.
Yes, through the lens of the other things that I create. Right. Absolutely. And she does too, which was really cool. Yeah. It was great to talk to her. I can't wait. You guys are going to have to stay tuned because we got a bunch of cool stuff coming up. Oh, I want to talk about one other thing today. You just looked really scared of that. The
No, I was
eyebrow
not
just
scared. I
like
was
leapt
like,
up your forehead.
I
You don't
know,
even know
like,
what I'm bringing up. We went to an event the other night.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
You cooked for the event,
Well, I
so
cooked
you
again,
weren't
yeah.
really like a.
But that was so cool.
It was so cool. So Art of Elysium and Perfumehead.
Perfumehead.
Oh my gosh, it was so incredible.
Yeah.
So it was a bunch of different artists that were paired with a few of the fragrances from Perfumehead, and they were tasked with designing a new label, a new box, for an artist was assigned a different scent. And I was so incredibly impressed by a couple of the artists, especially, but all of them. I mean, all of them were amazing. There's a photographer from Toronto that was there. There was another artist from Toronto that was also, I guess, I mean, how do you say it? Like, not assigned, not even tasked with, but just like was given the opportunity to do it. Yeah. There was one like very new young artist that was, I loved their story because they were just a big fan of Perfumehead perfumes, and then they happened to also be a visual artist and happened to be on Instagram and sent a couple of DMs, and they're like, yeah, I got this really cool opportunity to do that. They're so young. And theirs was I think it's called Room Number, but it's this beautiful label of the label photograph of Chateau Marmont. It's so cool. It's so cool. So and then
Tasia did a
we
good
met
college.
Tasia.
Yeah.
I met Tasia.
You
I
met
hadn't
Tasia.
met Tasia
Yeah,
before.
True.
We just keep saying her name on here, and I hope that she's like, don't be mad. It's cool. We love you so much. I mean, I'm a big fan of everything that she does. So it was one of those things where you introduced me to her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're
You feel like
Tasia.
you know, yeah.
I didn't fangirl entirely. A little bit. I did a little bit. She's so cool. I like her a lot. And she created a collage.
Yeah, that's what she does.
Yeah.
She had an exhibit not too long ago, a solo show. It was really good. She's
Yeah,
talented.
I definitely want to see. I want to see more of her work.
I think that
I would love
we'll
to
have
also have
we'll
her
here,
on the
yeah.
podcast.
We'll have
I
her
really
because it's a cool perspective.
Yeah. She's awesome.
Melanie did a good.
Melanie did one as well. So
yeah,
Melanie Pullen,
Pullen.
who we had on here for like our third episode or something.
Yeah,
She's so cool. But yeah, she had one that was phenomenal, really beautiful. There were just some amazing artists, and they had a band there, and I just got to meet some really incredible people.
And
I will
love
say that.
Perfumehead,
Sarah, go ahead.
I love that Perfumehead is based out of Los Angeles.
Yes.
They can be found at Just One Eye, which
Just
is
One
one
Eye.
of our favorite stores that for
For what?
well, because we go there, we have a group of us that meet for breakfast regularly.
Saturdays,
That are right next to it. So we do go there to look at the art and the furniture and the fashion, because it's really uplifting, or and so we got to, I didn't know that they were there, but they're LA based, which I love. They're really good fragrance. Really
I'm wearing one right
interesting.
now.
Me too.
Really? Which one do you have on?
Oud, the one with oud.
Oh, okay. I can't pronounce the one that I have on, but it's the one that Tasia did the label for. Yeah.
So that was part of it too, is that supporting, someone local who does something really cool was important.
Yeah. They've also only been around for 2 years.
Yeah.
Very new. And Daniel, who is the creator, he's really
We'll
a
try to have him
fascinating
too,
person.
because
Yeah.
it's I like that's an art
It
for
is.
sure.
It is.
And so it definitely fits with our podcast. And
You know what I noticed too is that I have really strong, and you've witnessed this as well, I have really strong memory tied to olfactory. Like an aroma will bring me immediately back. It is like time traveling. It will bring me back to a moment, to a person, or something like that. And since I hadn't put it on since the event, And then I put this on today. Like instantly I was just like, we should have Tasia on the podcast. Cause like, I was talking to her for a while and hers is my favorite. So it's definitely my favorite of all of them. And so I like had it on when I was talking to her. And so when I put it on today, I thought of her immediately. Like, that's great marketing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Sense memory is really powerful. But I feel like that's also, we've had Thomas Lavin talk about that on the podcast too, that when he walks into a space that he notices aromas. And I think that sense is also something that I really want to play with in design when it comes to creating a home, creating a space. There's so much that you can do with scent too. And that, all the senses. So it's touch, it's, sight, obviously, sound, the acoustics of a room. Ooh. Maybe, I mean, taste, because you're cooking usually here.
Yeah.
So like when...
But
yeah.
Interesting enough is that I always try to have something that smells good when I cook. So that when people come in, they are instantly in that mood of like, it smells good. And it is important to have that element right off the bat.
Absolutely. I will say too, because I eat here so often, right? And when I come into your place, like oftentimes it smells like something delicious is being made. And yeah, that sense memory really ties me to like, oh, this is a place where I can sit, relax, and just like be nourished. And I like that. Yeah,
it's a scent is fantastic. Be it a candle, a perfume, or the food that we make. I think it's important to have that.
Yes, so we should have Daniel from Perfumehead here for sure.
And he was interesting. He was fun. He was kind. It was everything that. It was really a great pleasure to help out again. And I'm glad you met a bunch of cool people that night.
They're such amazing creative people up there. Yeah, we'll eventually. I think that we should definitely take a tour of the.
Yeah, and we'll have
the unit
Jen
there
also,
and have Jen. Yeah. And they have some crazy events coming up this year too, or next year. Next year. So I look forward to it. I mean, listen. We're not trying to be cryptic. We're just waiting.
Yeah.
Until we can talk about things in more depth, I guess.
Exactly. And,
so we should get to our guest.
Yes.
Our guest is Lynda Murray. And Lynda Murray was one of my favorite guests that we've had on the sofa. She's incredibly creative. She is also such a strong and driven person. And as a woman in the industry, I definitely am impressed with her. She's a killer. She's badass. I like her a lot.
Another one of our. Look, we are lucky. I'm grateful that we have all those creative people, and it's funny because the more I think about it, and the more there are so many more people that I can't wait to have on the sofa.
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful to be surrounded by all those people, and I've been for a long time. And sometimes you forget how lucky you are to be surrounded by people. And I think that doing the podcast with you has allowed me to realize that. And maybe that's for all of us. It's to look at our surrounding and be like, shit. Thanks for being so cool and creative, but yeah.
So we should probably get to it. I do want to make one disclaimer though.
Yeah.
In the recording of Lynda Murray's episode, my mic went out. So, it's going to sound a little bit different than our other episodes, but you'll be able to hear everything.
She sounds amazing.
She sounds amazing.
That was kind of the key.
And her stories are just magnificent. So let's get to it, shall we?
Let's go.
Welcome to Clutter Bravado. Today we are here with Lynda Murray.
Hi. Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm really good.
So
I'm
pretty.
really good. Oh, thank
Tall drink of water you
Oh
are.
my gosh, thank you so much. So you are one of LA's top 25 designers. You are an incredible interior designer known for your simple sophistication, not simple, but concise sophistication, large scale projects that you've done. And also, you're a pilot.
I am.
Whenever I started looking into your social media at first and like getting an idea of what we could expect today. And the first thing that really stood out to me is like, this is a woman who does what she wants. I love that. And so I'm really curious, how did you end up in interior design specifically?
Gosh, I pretty much knew what I wanted to do at a very early age, but I did not know what interior design was. Like as a very young child, I was really invested in my bedroom and my linens and my artwork, like how my room was placed, so it started very, very early. I was always neat and tidy, and I made my bed like you could flip a quarter on my bed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was super like into it, like whatever that was. I didn't know what it was. And I remember vividly sitting in the backseat of my parents' car and driving through neighborhoods and looking out the window at the homes and being like, I wanted to go in and see all the interiors of the homes. And I never voiced that to anybody or whatever. I just remember always driving through neighborhoods and wondering what's going on in that house. What does that house look like on the inside? It's pretty on the outside. What does it look like on the inside? And I was always like so curious about how people lived. And then when I turned 15 or 16, we had someone helping with my mom had someone help with our house, and she let me work with her directly to do my bedroom.
Yeah. That's like every teenager's dream,
Exactly.
I think.
I'm like, what? It's a job? No way. I'm all in. So once I realized that like interior design and decorating was an actual job, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to school for that and I'm going to be an interior designer. And I never wavered. Like I never wavered. And it's funny at that time, Laura Ashley, I don't know if you know who that is.
Yes,
you might
yeah.
be too young. Laura Ashley, I did everything Laura Ashley, like my drapes matched my wallpaper and my lamp shade, and we did a custom duvet, and it was just really cool. And this woman took me everywhere. Her name's Yvonne Nelson, David Nelson's wife. She just recently passed away from the Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. I credit her for why I'm an interior designer, because she taught me the ropes. Like the customizing of my bedding and all of that was just something I'd never done or seen. So then I was on a trajectory of that's what I was going to do.
When you were a teenager, what was your dream bedroom? Like, what did that look like?
Before I did the Laura Ashley
Yeah.
thing, I didn't really have like an aesthetic. I really didn't, because I was so young, and my parents lived in I was raised in a California ranch style house, which I still love to this day, and I also have a California ranch house, more contemporary on the interior, which I think is so cool to have a vintage home with interiors that are a little more contemporary. But I digress. I don't think I had like a style. I think I just, of course I had some posters on my wall on the back door of my door. But yeah, I was kind of like more, I would say Frenchy, kind of French country, Laurent.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to school in France and stuff. So I was definitely like a bit of a Francophile. I loved all things French. So
we share a year in Cannes.
Yeah, exactly. I spent a year in Cannes, and so I would say definitely traditional French country classic, as a young child, because I didn't know any better, and it's all I saw.
Do you think that your year in France has impacted you in terms of your aesthetic?
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Like I said, I love vintage old buildings. So I love all the windows and all the roofs and all of the old buildings, and then making the interiors more contemporary. Like I just love that juxtaposition for some reason, and I still do to this day. Like I love old buildings. I always have and I always will. So I'm I do very contemporary design.
Yeah.
So all the buildings I build and do are new.
Yeah.
But every now and then we get hired to do, an older, 1940s or 1920s home. And, I give it my flavor on the interior, but I never mess with the architecture on the outside.
Yeah.
Because I just love that.
I value that so much because I'm also really obsessed with old buildings. That's one of the first things that I got really into as a teen. There was this really old brick building in my hometown that I was obsessed with, and I loved the way that it smelled and the windows and just everything about it. And unfortunately it got demolished, and I remember that being one of the most heartbreaking experiences. Just like, no, but you, like, what's going to be there? Like, something else has to go there, but it's not going to have the same amount of like beauty and character to it. And spending time in Europe also, like, one thing I was so into was just the facades of a lot of the buildings. And like, I spent a bunch of time in Prague and going through like the square, and it's stunning, it's beautiful. Like it. And then you go inside and it's a Starbucks.
Exactly. The Gap.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
I really like the juxtaposition though. So the way that your taste has sort of evolved over time, like I said at the beginning, you're really known for this very intentional sophistication. So how would you say that your style is currently evolving, like where it was maybe like 5 years ago into where you are now?
So when I started my career, I did a lot of, most of my stuff was classic. I did a lot of homes up in Montecito, up north near Santa Barbara. And obviously throughout LA. And in California, there's a lot of Spanish Mediterranean. So the first half of my career, I did all of that. Like I even imported antiques from Spain, and I went there, 5 years in a row and brought containers back, and I handpicked antiques and curated this whole thing. I people don't even know that about me, but I did do that because I was so into like the and then as I evolved, I got kind of, I don't want to use the word bored because it's not the right word, but like I had done so many Mediterranean and Spanish, and I've done every kind of architecture you can think of that's classic. I wanted to challenge myself more, and doing contemporary design is actually really, really challenging. I don't know if people know that or recognize that.
But can you go into that more? Like, what makes that really challenging?
So it's really quite simple. So if you're doing a Spanish Mediterranean house, and if you've traveled to Spain or a Mediterranean house at all and been to the south of France, you have so much history to look at and pull from and derive from all the things that have been in history. You can even look it up in history books and stuff and study the interiors of Spanish or Mediterranean or whatever homes. But in contemporary, there's no history books. There's no like kind of how to, what's the right moldings, so it's a super hard challenge, and you have to like kind of think outside of the box and create it from your brain.
Yeah.
Like there's no history books to like refer to, like what would this kitchen look like, or what should it look like? So I love that about contemporary design, that I work a lot with an amazing architect named Paul McLean. He's a friend of mine, and we've done many, many projects together, and his stuff has a lot of glass, steel, a lot of window expanses where you're not placing things on walls and whatnot. So you really have to be creative on how to make the house function for a family that's super contemporary, and I love that challenge. And I love to make a very contemporary house livable and soft and inviting for kids or dogs and whatever. And you just don't have the history books to look through to figure out how do we pull this off, whereas you can with classic architecture.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, when you're in this place of creating something brand new, you have the ability to make your own rules. Yeah, which can probably feel a little overwhelming. Yeah.
It is.
It's a lot easier to follow a guidebook of like, this is how I know this is supposed
to. There's a how-to to do a Spanish Mediterranean house. Yeah. Like it's all there in the history books and magazines and all of that. But and it's, my clients are, expect me to think outside the box always and bring my A game every time to every meeting. You can never, you can't be complacent,
Mhm.
you know, and they're expecting you to pull it off and go above and beyond and
Yeah.
really pull it off, you know.
Can you think of a time, and you don't have to give a specific project, but can you think of one of those times where maybe you made a decision that you wouldn't make now?
Oh, gosh. Of course.
I think of it like a writer or a movie director. It's like they watch their movie and they're like, oh, I wouldn't have done that, or I wouldn't have done that. Of course, you know,
Absolutely.
there's, you know, and I still, I still have like had a misfire here and there. You know what I mean? Like I'm human, and things that like, yeah, I would do differently if given the opportunity. Nothing catastrophic, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but just, you know, things change and you're like, oh, if I'd known that, I would have done this kind of thing. Nothing that stands out in particular, like that I said, nothing catastrophic to where I'm like, the client would kill me if they knew. But yeah, of course, you know, it's like there's always things that I would love to. And going back in my own portfolio, I'm like, you know, kind of.
That happens a lot. So the whole way that I got into interior design at all is I worked as an assistant for an interior designer. And through that, I was looking through a lot of her portfolio. And in the year and a half that I was working for her, there was one of her projects that went from, I want this on the front of everything, I love all these photos, I love this job, to 6 months later being like, I don't want anyone to see that. I really don't like this anymore. And I found that was really interesting, because I do feel that way about a lot of the things that I've created as well. I'd spent a year recording an album full of music that I loved, and I was so excited about it, and now I can't listen to it. You know, like, that's not, I don't like that anymore. But that's a part of the creative process. Yeah.
What's interesting is that because I mean, when you met me, I was an antique dealer. So
Yeah.
I used to do containers from France, and it's interesting that now I have the same feeling, and I can't describe it. It's not bored.
Yeah.
But there's something that just, I'm a little catty, because I've seen so many of those interiors where it was a wine tasting table and a coffee pot and the shade and the sofa and, and I was like, I can't do that thing. And, the armoire in the bedroom. And it was just like, it was so formulaic at some point. It became like a formula.
Yeah.
And I was,
That's the perfect word, formulaic. It's like, at a certain point, you've done it so many times. I mean, I'm 26 years into my career. So that's a long time. I'm aging myself, but it's a long time. And I have no idea how many homes I've done. I've never counted. I know it's in the hundreds. I have no idea. But after a certain point, you're like, how many, can I do? I need to be challenged in a different way. Like, I know how to do that. Like, and it's funny because it's been so long that I've done Mediterranean and whatnot that when they do drop in my lap, I kind of love it. I'm like, ooh, this is my wheelhouse. Like, I got this. And I'm so clear about it. I'm doing a really big job in Rancho La Quinta. I'm renovating Rancho La Quinta Country Club, and it's a Spanish Mediterranean building. It's the most amazing job. I'm super excited about it, but I'm like, when they interviewed all these firms and everything, and we got the job, and it was like a 3-month process, but I'm like, I got this, guys. Like, when I was sitting in the conference room talking to the team of people that were, interviewing everyone, I'm like, guys, I got this. I really got this. I can't tell you how much I got this. Yeah. And fortunately I got the job, but, so I love going back in time and kind of getting I did another one in Brentwood that came out really spectacular, and I was loving it because I hadn't done it in so long. Yeah. So every now and then I'll dip my feet back in.
It's interesting because you don't have that with contemporary.
No.
And there's so much there's also now so much offering in contemporary.
Oh my God.
It's overwhelming but exciting at the same time.
Totally.
And it gives you quite a bit of freedom. Plus, if you can incorporate, a vintage or an antique here and there, it's kind of.
I'll always throw in vintage in the homes I do. Always. You'll always see lighting or, a piece like Milo Boffman or Knoll or whatever. I'm a huge fan of the vintage stuff. So I definitely, it adds flavor to the contemporary homes and gives the house a little bit of a vibe. When you find really great pieces and you place them in the house, I think that's a must.
That's so cool. Well, okay. You said that you've done over 100 projects, but you haven't counted. Yeah. In all of those, is there anything that you have wanted to do that you haven't had the opportunity
I mean, as far as architecture or
Yeah.
I've done every
Yeah.
truly. Yeah, I've done every kind of architecture that there is. Everything. Mid-century, English Tudor, Mediterranean, I mean, I've done everything. I don't think that there's a style that I haven't worked on.
Is there an artist that you haven't worked with
An artist.
that you want to work with? Like for me, for example, it'd be, and Kimberly and I would be like to have a Niamberry, shader or like someone like you're working with someone like that. Is there someone that comes to mind?
It's funny. I was just at Christian Lieg Showroom, and I just love. He's no longer with us,
Right.
and I was just saying, like, if I could have interned or apprenticed for anyone, I would have followed him around for free and got his coffee just to be in the same space with him, just because I think that he was so innovative in his designs, and there's just been no one else in the world like him. So I would say Christian Lieg. Yeah, I think he's just a genius.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
have to recognize when there's a genius.
Yeah.
So,
I really feel that way.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you more about what it was like getting into the industry, but also just being a woman in the industry of design, and also being someone who doesn't tend to, and like maybe I could be wrong about this, but you don't seem like someone who backs down very easily. You seem like you're very, from my point of view, you have a very strong presence, and you have a lot of knowledge, and you have a lot of experience. So have there been times that you've experienced challenges based on maybe an initial perception, or what someone, like when you're working with other people in the industry? Like, what is an example of that?
I mean, there's so many.
Yeah.
We'd have to like get sleeping bags and spend the night. I've been around a long time, and I've seen a lot, and it's definitely hundreds of homes that I've done. Like, I don't know how many, but and working with the end user, the client, I think is probably the most challenging, in the fact that you're oftentimes working on their biggest purchase that they've ever made in their life. I don't care if they're billionaires or whatever. It's like, generally speaking, the homes we do, it's oftentimes the largest purchase that they will have made at any given time. So it's very intense and very important. And, sometimes people can behave badly. Fortunately, right now I'm at a stage in my career where my clients I adore. Like, I love them and will jump through hoops of fire for them. But earlier on in my career, where I was a little more, I'm still hungry, so I don't want to use that, but I was a little bit more green and really wanting to prove myself and all of that. You can get abused by clients, you know what I mean? And that's really challenging as a woman. And or as a man, being abused is terrible, but as a woman in this industry, and being sort of beaten up, verbally beaten up, and because these people are, like I said, they're it's like a very large purchase. It's very intense. They're very like, they have to have it now, or if something comes in wrong, it's like the end of the world. And in our business, stuff comes in wrong. It's an inch off. If it's an inch off, it's an inch off. You can't use it, kind of, in certain circumstances. So I've had, clients be really abusive to me, where I've gone out of a meeting and sat in my car in the street and cried, like, I'll admit it, like I've been berated by a guy, like screaming in my face and like spitting, and just, there's been moments where, you're like, wow, I can't believe this is even happening. Like, would they do that to a guy? Like, would a man be screaming at a guy? Because then I think it would turn into a fist fight. It's been that aggressive and that bad. I've had situations where it's been that bad, where I'm like, is this guy going to actually hit me? And it's funny. I had one instance in particular where a man was screaming at me, billionaire guy, powerful guy, scary guy. And I'm not, I'm 5'10", and I'm imposing somewhat, and I'm very confident. But like, when you're in a situation like that, when someone's really losing their cool, I remember vividly standing in the living room. This guy was screaming at me over the curtain rods being off by like an inch, like thickness. It wasn't about that. It was obviously, he's a nut job, but there was painters and contractors in the room, and they scattered like cockroaches. I'm like, and left me in a room. That's what I remember the most, is that I'm standing in a room with a guy screaming in my face like this, and everyone scattered.
Yeah.
Like the men, they were all men, and I was the only one in the room with the guy, and he let me have it for, I don't know, of course I quit. I like walked out. I'm like, no one's ever speaking to me like that. It was horrible, but like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because something comes in wrong or whatever. And sometimes people behave badly and lose their cool for no reason. Because I can tell you, and anyone listening to this, anything and everything can be fixed. I don't care what it is. It could be the most priceless, whatever. If something happens on a job site where it's the wrong size or it's the wrong, they installed it wrong or whatever, everything can be fixed. So that's the kind of exciting thing about what we do. Because after 26 years, I know I'm never worried. It's not fun when something goes wrong, or, it's never fun, and it costs more time and money and whatever, but it's not the end of the world.
And for anybody that listens, you catch more flies with honey
Yes.
than you do by getting angry. And for someone who makes furniture, or and we try to be 100%. And I'll be the first to admit, we can't. It's just, between the fabric, the color, the shipping, there's so many variables that 95% of the time it's perfect. There's 5% of mistakes, and we will always be there to fix it. But it's so much nicer when someone says, "Thank you, please, I get it. Oh well, it's an extra 3 weeks."
Yeah.
So just, it's a fun thing. We're decorating homes.
Yeah.
It's loving. It's love. It's fun. It's your house.
I say that all the time. I'm like, let's just remember, we're talking about furniture and tile and stone and beautiful, fun things. This should be a fun experience.
Right.
Stuff, and I tell my clients all the time, stuff goes wrong, and it's going to go wrong. We're all human beings, and there's 20 people handling this piece of furniture or whatever, and there's a chance that something's going to happen. Don't freak out. We will take care of it.
Right.
It will get fixed. Move on. Do not stress yourself out. Don't freak out. There's just no point, because it's like I also say oftentimes, let me remind you where we're not. We're not in the OR cracking open your chest and working on your heart. We're working on your living room. So it's everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
I would also think that from a vibe standpoint, you're doing your own. So it's like, let's make it a loving place, even when things go wrong. And then, once it's done, you will be. And the other thing is that a lot of people freak out because they're in the middle of it and they don't realize that it's minimal. And then once it's fixed, and they're all looking at it, and they're like, "Oh, why did I freak out for?" Because it all got fixed. And all of us work together. I mean, it's like being a designer, from the contractor all the way to the furniture maker or the designer. We all, 99.5% of us are trying to do a good job.
Of course.
And so it's like, it'll get there.
Yeah. And you minimize. I have an amazing team. I love the girls that work with me, the women, and we're like a family, and stuff happens, and it's like, it will get fixed and everything's going to be okay. And you have to keep things in perspective. And after, like I said, 26 years, I've seen and done everything and made so many mistakes, and I know that things can be fixed. So that's why I'm super confident and comfortable when something goes wrong. I don't freak out. I'm like, okay, it's going to be fixed. And I also tell my clients, when we bring your furniture in and make your bed and put your toothbrush in the drawer and all of that, you're going to forget all of this. I promise, because I've never had a miserable, unhappy client in 26 years, touch wood. So if you're out there, don't call me. But
So, through all of this, I'm hearing that you sound really grounded. And I'm wondering what it is that you do in your personal life that helps you to stay grounded.
Well, thanks for saying that. I actually feel really grounded, and I think it probably has something to do with my age at this point. I'm 59, and, I'm proud to say that. I'm happy that I'm, made it to 59, and hopefully I have another good 3 decades or more left in me. But I feel like the experience that I've had and how many jobs I've had, and I work all over the world, and I've seen so much. I feel I probably wasn't this grounded 26 years ago. Obviously, I was a little more nervous and insecure and not sure of myself. But at a certain point, when you've had a business for as long as I have, and I've had the experience, I think my clients know when I'm sitting in a room, I have the portfolio to back up what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I can say, yes, I've done a home that's worth $250 million. I've done a home that's 75 million. I've done a home that's 10 million or whatever. I've run the gamut in interior design and architecture. And I think that having that knowledge and experience and education and all of that goes with the 26 years of running a company has led me to be grounded and feel confident when I say it's going to be fixed and we don't have to worry about it. Like I just don't let things ruffle me like that, like I used to. So thank you for saying that. And I work out. I work out really hard. I used to play a sport for many, many years. I recently quit because I played for 30 plus years. So I identify as a polo player. It's so fun. And a pilot. I'm a polo player and a pilot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I fly. I'll go up in my plane and just you're only concentrating on the task at hand, which is keeping the plane in the air.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love doing that. I love being in my plane and going to Vegas or Santa Barbara or Palm Desert. So yeah, I work out. I try to eat right. I spend a lot of time with my family, and I love my clients and I love my projects. So I still love what I do so much. I think about it all the time. I'm always looking for new, checking out what Kimberly Denman has designed and all of that. I'm always looking for new, great pieces to use in the projects and bring stuff to my clients that they've never seen. And, I still get really excited I still shop myself, for my clients. And, I have obviously a great team. I can't do everything by myself. So I put together a really amazing team and we all work together like a little family. And it's just still really exciting to me. So I think that all helps, all those things.
Yeah. I've been watching some of your reels on social media where you're actually going into some of the showrooms and talking about your experience, just exploring them and looking at what's new. And we've talked in the podcast before about the importance of like going in and interacting with pieces and interacting with the space rather than just sourcing something online. So in your experience, as things are evolving to be more of like a virtual way of sourcing, like what is your experience or your opinion on that?
Well, so that's a really great question and super important, I think. So I am very tactile. And that's why I shop the fabrics that I'm going to be using on the pieces. I really do. Like, I'll run into PDC and they're like, what are you doing in here? Like, you're shopping the fabrics? I'm like, they think it's shocking that the principal is actually shopping fabrics, but I do that myself. And I think it's really important if I am selling something to a client and it's a $40,000 sofa or whatever it is, even if it's a $5,000 sofa, I can say I sat on it, I touched it, I know it, I saw it myself. Like I feel very comfortable selling you that because I saw it, so I think that's really important. Having said that, I shop online. Because we're able to shop globally now, which is so amazing. First Dibs, and there's just a bunch of online sources that vet the products. And so because I've been at it for so long and have been able to purchase things repeatedly, from the same vendors and designers, and have it delivered to America. And I'm like, oh, thank God. It's what I hoped it was. Because obviously I can't hop on a plane every week and go to Europe and touch and feel everything. So I feel comfortable and confident in the brands that I shop and vet myself. And then through things like First Dibs, which they vet, buying online and not having sat on it or not having touched it myself or crawled underneath and looked how it was made, because I'm very strict about that. I want to be able to say, I know what you're getting. So we buy a lot of the same brands, where I know what I'm getting when I shop Kimberly Denman online. I know what I'm getting. But when I don't, it's a little bit of a risk. I'm not going to lie. Like every now and then I'm doing a Hail Mary Like, I hope that thing comes in the way I expected it to,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just kind of the way of the world now, right? Like it does open up the whole world for you.
Mhm.
So I can shop in New Zealand, I can shop in wherever.
Mhm.
And I love that
Mhm.
because it just, you just have so many more options.
Yeah.
So it's never going to go away. And you know, you can call people and try to figure out, have someone, I'll have people sit on some, like you're a tall girl and so am I, and I'll have them sit on it and show me where their tush ends on this, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm like, I
yeah.
need to see the perspective, or put your hand in front of it so I can see the size of that.
Mhm.
Because sometimes you'll buy something and you have the dimensions, but you don't really get it until you see it. And you're like,
Mhm.
that's much smaller than I anticipated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll tell people, throw your hand in there, put something
Mhm.
in there so I can see, get the perspective of what it is. So you got to just be smart about it.
Yeah.
And a big part of that too, like one thing that's great about like with Kimberly Denman is that you have people that you build a relationship with that are the people that are responsible for making these things. And so how would you say that those relationships have also improved your ability as a designer?
Everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. Like, I love Laurent. We're friends, but I only know him because I shop in his showroom. You know what I mean? So, and it's like a huge responsibility of the vendor, in my opinion, to back their product and service their product. I mean, I have a little blacklist. It's not super long, but it's there and it exists. If we've had like a really bad scenario happen, I will never shop there again.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a running list. And there's, you know, like I said, it's not super long, but it's there, and it's like, I expect, if I'm spending a lot of money, and I spend a lot of money every month, I expect my service, the back end. It's like, it's one thing to make the sale, and then if the vendor drops off and they're not like following up and letting me know if it's going to be late or whatever, that's just unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. And I'm really strict about that. That's where the, you know, stronger Lynda comes into play, where, you know, if my team is having a problem with a vendor and, you know, they're like, it's going to be this late, or they said this, or they said that, I'm like, okay, give me the number. Tell me who I'm supposed to call, and I'll not lay them out, because that's, I'm not a screamer. It's not my thing. But I'm like, if I'm making a phone call, it's not going to be good for them. You know, I'm like, I'll be like, this needs to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you have to do, you know, put me ahead of whoever. It was meant to be on this day, and you're telling me it's going to be another 6 weeks. That's just unacceptable. You have to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, get it on a plane or whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like my vendors and designers that I've worked with over the course of my career I'm very, very close with, you know, and they're like friends of mine.
Yeah.
And it's a mutual respect, where they know that I'm presenting my clients, who are some of the wealthiest people in the world, expect to get what they paid for.
Yes.
And have it be perfect. Like, there's no like, it's not quite right. Like, no, it needs to be right. I'm not afraid to spend a bunch of money and have my clients throw down for pieces of art. You know, like it's how I see it. I see some of this furniture as like art.
Absolutely.
And they're willing to pay the money, but you better back it up.
Yeah.
And it better be what I thought it was going to be, you know? And I don't think I don't think there's anything wrong with that, you know? And I just think there's a mutual respect. So that's why I go to the same vendors over and over and over the course of my career. I've been working with people for my whole entire career, because I know what I'm going to get. And I can say to my clients, it's going to be no problem. It's absolutely what you think it's going to be. And it feels good to be able to say that when they're spending $50,000 on a sofa.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I have noticed too, because I've gotten to know a lot of people who are furniture designers or who are interior designers, like working more directly with clients. And the thing that I'm sort of pulling from it, from my own perspective, and I could be wrong about this, I don't think I am, but
Of course not.
but the way that you interact with your clients, or that vendors are interacting with designers, not even specifically talking about like the piece or the design, but just the interpersonal relationships, the way that those relationships are valued by everybody involved. Like, if somebody rubs me the wrong way, I'm not going to buy their couch. Does that make sense?
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So and I feel like that is something, especially in the city of Los Angeles, because it does tend to be a little bit more of a tighter community, that it feels like a community that's really built on relationships and the integrity of work at the same time.
I think 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
That's spot on.
Okay.
And like I said, if I have a bad experience, I'm not going to let that happen twice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not like, oh, you're going to get another chance. Like that's just not happening if it's egregious. And
Mhm.
usually if you're on my blacklist, it's egregious. It's
Yeah.
been something egregious where I'm like, I'm never going to put myself through that again.
Yeah.
And why would I? Because LA, in my opinion, and I've been all over the world, I've worked globally
Mhm.
for a long, long, long time. I feel like Los Angeles has some of the best artisans on the planet. And I say that with total confidence. I feel like the best of the best architects, contractors, furniture manufacturers, painters, mill workers, stone installers, the best of the best of the best are here,
Yeah.
right here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've worked in New York. I've worked in all the top markets, Europe, New York, Florida. I've worked everywhere, and not everywhere, but I've worked in a ton of places. And LA is definitely, in my opinion, the pinnacle of interior design and architecture. Everything you could ever possibly want is here at the highest level. So, yeah, I feel like your relationships are everything, because
Yeah.
I can call someone, not that I would, or I have, on a Sunday and been like, look, I'm in a pinch,
Mhm.
I know this is crazy, but I need to get this, that, or the other done, And when we're talking about multi-million-dollar projects, stuff is kind of an emergency sometimes. It could be $1 million mistake or $1 million decision, and if stuff, I like to be able to get people on the phone, and I like to be able to, I don't demand it just because I'm spending a ton of money. There's a lot of us. There's 4,000 designers in Los Angeles. Maybe there's a group of us that are doing these multi-million-dollar homes, but there's a lot of us.
Yeah.
So the competition's there. So it's not like, oh, because I'm spending so much, you need to jump through hoops for me. But when I am spending, I just expect the service to be what I would give my clients. And my clients are trusting me, and I'm trusting you.
Yeah.
Because it's my face that they're going to be yelling at, not Laurent's. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if something's
exactly.
wrong, they're going to go directly to me, and then I have to beat up Laurent. And then Laurent.
And he's so used to it that he's okay.
Yeah.
You know what's great? As the person who receives the phone call at night,
For the record, I've never done that to you.
You've never done that.
Not to you.
But for the record, there are a couple of you that have. And it's fun. There's something about it that's like, you see that color ID and you're like, and that they're calling you. Most likely they're calling you because they need that chair yesterday, and but it makes you feel, that's part of the community. That's part of the friendship. That's part of, you're like, yeah, okay, I'll go to the workshop tomorrow. We'll start at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I'll rush it. And there's that trust and that connection that you have. And as a maker, it makes you, now I can't take a phone call every night like that because, but you know what? When someone calls, you're like, you're back. And it's not about money. It's about, it really is about friendship and community and also longevity. I mean, it's true that, we started the podcast, and suddenly I realized that I've been in this business a long time, and I've known, I've had connection with designers for 20 years or more, and so it becomes way more than just a client. It becomes, I've seen the whole thing, and so when you call, you're like, okay, I'll have your back, I'll jump through the hoop, and it makes you feel like, you know what, it's fun.
I agree. I just think it's so much more than that. I mean, I'll walk in and I hug, and I'm like, my upholsterer I've known for my entire career.
Right.
And I love him, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for him or his family, and vice versa. I've called him crying and, I need your help. Like, I've had him shut down his entire thing to get something done for me. I paid him, but I'm like, it was an emergency kind of thing. And, so yeah, it's like, I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. And I'll be loyal for as long as I'm doing this job. The people that I work with are, to me, like, the only reason why I have a business for 26 years that's successful is because of everybody that I work with, and all those people who have helped me build this business and made me look good, over the course of my career. Of course I'm going to stay loyal. There's nothing I wouldn't do for the people that I work with. There's just not.
Yeah. it's interesting because I don't first think about that when it comes to building a successful business, which is the loyalty with the people that you're working with your vendors, with the artisans that you're working with. That just blew my mind a little bit. Obviously, it's so simple and obvious.
Yeah.
But yeah, loyalty is being a real.
It's everything to me.
Yeah.
It's everything to me. Like the people that work for me and the people that I hire to do the jobs I've worked with for as long as I can remember. And I push for those vendors to get on because we build from the ground up. Like a very large part of my business is building from the ground up, new construction. And so these jobs go on 4 years, 5 years. They're a long time. And, there's vendors like my mill worker and my stone guy, is a guy named Mark Ziola. Just throw a shout out to Mark. They do such impeccable work. And I know that if I'm spending $10,000 on a slab of marble that I've imported from wherever in the world it came from, that he's not going to mess it up. And it's going to be exactly what I designed. We do very high level of design. We do crazy renderings and in-house, and we design all this stuff. And I don't want it to get ruined by some guy that's going to hack it up. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, well, now what? So all of those relationships are what built my business. So yeah, I'm loyal. It's like really important to me. And I expect the people that I work with to be loyal to me as well.
Yeah. So I do want to get to our 3 questions that we ask everyone. And they don't have to be like rapid fire lightning questions. If you want to expand on it a little bit, you're totally welcome to. So the first question is, what is the messiest place in your house?
So easy because I'm super neat freak fanatic. I'm an interior designer, and most of us are like super anal retentive with our homes. Yeah. So my husband's room, like.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Sorry. I mean, by the way,
we love you.
Yeah, I love you.
Also, what a beautiful thing to say on your anniversary.
Exactly. Sorry, babe. Happy anniversary. Yeah, it's like, and you know what? He's so clean. Laurent knows him. He's super clean and neat because I couldn't be with someone that wasn't. But like, he puts his clothes on the floor and the towel and just, so Eddie's room.
Okay.
Easy answer.
I love that. One thing that's interesting that I've asked that question of every guest that we've had.
Okay.
And for all of our designers, all of them have said someone else's space.
Because it's true.
Yeah, it's very rarely that it's like, oh, it's mine.
Yeah,
like artists are different, but like when it comes to designers, it's like my children.
No. I have never met a designer that's messy like that. It doesn't go.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't go.
Yeah.
Like who's gonna hire a designer that's messy? Like it just doesn't even it doesn't compute.
Totally. Okay. Second question. What is your favorite place, either in your own home or in a home that you have designed?
I love my closet in my home, but there's a home I did in Idaho, and sorry, not in Idaho, in Utah, in Park City. That whole home is just I'm so connected to it. I'm connected to the family that lives in it. The Fogelmans, shout out to the Fogelmans. We built this house together on a mountain. It's a ski in, ski out. And every inch of that house to me is so me. It's so impeccable, but like they let me stay in the same room. I stay with them all the time. We go skiing. They're really close with Eddie, my husband.
Cool.
So we're super close. I've been working with them for 20 plus years.
Oh, wow.
So I have a relationship with their kids and everything. So the room that I sleep in the house in Park City with the Fogelmans is my favorite. It's just like.
How would you describe it?
It's so perfect. It's like it's got a fireplace, and the view is like in the wintertime there you can see like it's on the ski slope, so they can't see in, but you'll see skiers, and in the summertime it's just pine trees everywhere, and you'll see elk, and it's just like the most perfectly situated home in every sense of the word, and just designed really, really well.
Oh,
yeah.
My goodness.
Oh, I love that. I also love that you built such a relationship with them that you get to just stay there.
Yeah, we're friends. Like, yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Ooh.
Yeah.
okay.
And I tell them all the time, like,
Yeah.
I really love this house. And they're like, you're just saying that. You say that to all your clients. And I'm like, I'm saying it here on a podcast. And I'm going on record, Fogelmans. Your house is the bomb.
So my last question is, when you walk into a space, whether it was here today or when you walk into someone's home or even your home, what is the first thing that you notice?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I feel like the energy of a place when I walk in. That's the first thing I kind of feel, an energy of a house, or a space or whatever. It's like I feel an energy, and then like I'll notice like the placement of everything. You know, like does this feel crowded? Does this feel open? And like I'm very spatially aware of things. So for me, like clutter and mess and so I'll feel the energy of a place, and if it's messy then I'm like like I just get like a ick. But I'll feel the energy first, and then I'll space plan it. I don't care if it's French, Italian, modern, classic, none of that matters. I'm not noticing like what kind of house I'm walking into. I'm kind of noticing how things are spaced out.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the energy, the vibe, the feel.
Yeah.
I get that.
Mhm.
I get that. Oh my gosh. You are amazing.
Oh.
I
You say that to
No,
everybody.
I mean, I might, but I
I'm
really
just teasing
mean it
you.
this time. Like, you're so cool. And unfortunately, I know that you had a dinner while I was out of town.
Yeah.
And I wish that I could have been there because, I mean, we're going to have lunch today. So we'll have some more time to chat. But you are just spectacular and really very, very much an inspiration. Your work is beautiful, and also I'm just gonna keep following your Instagram. Do you want to plug your Instagram real quick?
Oh yeah, it's lm-id.com.
Oh my gosh.
So is there anything that we should be looking for in the next?
Yeah, I mean, well, that amazing country club in La Quinta, Rancho La Quinta, it's starting construction soon. It's a major renovation and then a new building, which I'm just super, super excited about. I've never worked at a country club before. And I have a fun project in New Zealand that we're excited about, and just all the homes up and down the coast that I'm working on in Laguna and all over LA.
Amazing. Oh, great. Well, I will keep a very close eye on your projects and what you're working on. And thank you so much.
And thanks for having me, you guys. This was super fun.
It's such a pleasure.
Yeah. It's so
Love
awesome.
it.
Having a conversation. It's great. Yeah. Congratulations on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have lunch.
Okay. I'm down.